Hey group leaders, and welcome back to our newsletter for October. There's quite a bit going on. Everything is kind of revolving once again, and things are in place, like your groups are starting to meet more on a consistent basis. Our midweek groups have once again started for this fall semester. Kids are back in school time, and everything is kind of on their consistent schedules once again. One of the things that I want to let you know about is there is a serving opportunity that's going to be coming up that is a great opportunity for groups specifically. That's our trunk or treat ministry. That's going to be happening on the last Friday of October starting at 6:30. So if you want to register to either host a trunk or be a candy runners, etc., this is one of our biggest events of the year. So we really need your help in the midst of that. You'll be able to find the registration link to sign up to volunteer below in the group leader newsletter. So just to keep you aware of that serving opportunity, it's a great way to continue to grow that connection and relationship with one another. I also wanted to let you know that my wife and I are expecting a baby here in really a few days, if not a few hours. So that's just something to be aware of. If I'm a little harder to contact here in the next few days and weeks, that's why. We are new parents and just trying to figure out how to raise a little human without necessarily any experience. So if you do happen to need anything in the meantime, like resources, reservations, etc., go ahead and contact my secretary, Crystal Swope, at crystal.swope@cwc.life, or just give a call here to the church, 570-742-8987. We'll be able to help you from there. I'll be back in about a week or two from when the baby is born, so I won't be out for too long, but just to make you aware that if I'm a little slow in getting back to you, that's the reasoning why. So our monthly leader tip for you this month is to specifically focus on prayer. And we're going through our prayer series right now with our prayer life: listening, intimacy, frequency, and expectation. Those four are really key in the midst of our prayer life. And that's something that you can keep in track of in your small groups as well. So I want to ask you, how much time do you actually spend in the midst of praying for one another? Is it 5 minutes? Is it 10 minutes? Do you even pray for one another in the midst of your small group? I encourage you, that's one of the best things that you can do to grow in your relationship with one another and really help the bond of a small group to be solidified. Take 10 to 15 minutes to really share what's going on in your life, whether it's a praise or it's a prayer request, and then write them down in a specific spot. Whether it's in Church Center to be able to have a separate thread for praises and prayer requests, or if it's via text message, if it's on your phone in some way with the notes, if it's in a prayer journal that you keep on you. There are many different ways that you can write those down and keep track of them. And then one of the great things for you as a group leader is you can check in with your members to see how is that going? How's your situation going? And how can I help in the midst of that? It's a great way to let group members know that you really love them and care for them, and it's so important to help establish that bond between members as well. Praying for one another is like that next step in the midst of a small group relationship, and it's so important to know that people care for you, that they love you, and that they are praying for you in the midst of that time too. I encourage you to keep your own individual prayer journal of some kind as well, whether it's a physical one like I have. I have a little moleskin reporter notebook, and it was a little expensive. It's about 10 to 15 bucks per notebook. I'm not sure what it is now. I haven't bought one in a while. But get a nice notebook with a nice pen, because that's going to eliminate any annoyance that you have with it. The more annoyed that you are with something, the less likely you are to use it. So if you get something nice, you're really much more likely to use that and get something out of it in the process too. Plus, you'll never receive a notification via text message or email when you're just writing in a paper notebook. So that can really help you to focus in on your prayer time and help to disconnect from the other distracting sources that are there too. Once again, that's a great way to keep track of what's going on with your group members, to be really intentional in the midst of your prayer life. And then I encourage you, as you pray for one another in the midst of your group, give people the opportunity to pray for one another. Don't do it just all as yourself as the group leader, but ask who would like to pray for this prayer request. Not everybody is going to be comfortable with that, but when you give the opportunity, it can help to establish more of a confidence in people's prayer life as well. And even if it was a little awkward in the midst of it, just encourage them and say, you know what? We all have to start somewhere. And God hears those prayers. He knows your heart. And I appreciate you taking that step to pray for others here in this moment. It's so important to be able to do that in your group time. So I highly recommend, if you don't have that time, then establish that this month. But also, I want you to encourage more prayer time in the midst of your group too, especially during these periods of prayer and fasting. One more thing that I want to let you know about is, as we move into our next series, the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd John letters series, for those of you who follow along with our sermon leader guides, you're going to see a little bit of a shift in the quality of the videos that we do. We're planning all of our leader guides and all of our video devotionals ahead of time rather than on a weekly basis. So you're going to see a significant improvement in the quality of those videos and in the engagement in that process. So I'd love to hear your feedback on, do you appreciate that change? Is there something that we can do to make them more engaging? How are the leader guides doing themselves? Do they need a little bit of a shift or change? Please let me know. I want those to be a tool to serve you above all else. And we can't do that without any feedback. So you are the front lines, you are the ones who are using them, and ultimately we want those to be the best that we can to help you in the midst of your group leading. But thanks again for joining us for this group leader newsletter this month. We'll see you again next month.